It begins, as many great works do, with a glimpse, a fleeting impression, a frame seen not in a gallery, but in life. Grant Wood, American painter, regionalist, aesthete of the unpretentious, sits beside his friend John Sharp in the sweltering summer of 1930, winding their way through the town of Eldon, Iowa. They pass a house, small, white, wooden, but above its humble porch rises something strange, a tall, narrow Gothic window with a pointed arch nestled beneath a steep gable. A flourish of medieval ecclesiastical grandeur, inexplicably perched in the middle of America's rural belly. Wood, struck by the dissonance, sketches it hastily on an envelope. That window, sharp, upright, out of place, will soon become one of the most recognizable pictorial elements in 20th century art. This house, known later as the Dibble House, was built in the early 1880s in the so-called Carpenter Gothic style, a rural American adaptation of Gothic revival, made possible by jigsaws and pattern books. For Wood, it was neither quaint nor picturesque. It was, in his words, a structural pretentiousness, a kind of aspiration carved into clapboard. But he also saw in it a kind of defiant individuality, something earnest, a little absurd, and utterly American. What followed was not a plain air sketch of architecture, but a composition of profound narrative intent. Wood returned home to Cedar Rapids and began to paint, not just the house, but its imagined inhabitants. And so we arrive at American Gothic. The painting presents us with two figures standing upright and front-facing before the house. The man, elderly, sunken-cheeked, grim, is dressed in denim overalls under a black jacket. In his hand, he clutches a pitchfork, the tines rising like Gothic spires. The woman beside him, his daughter, according to the artist, wears a colonial-patterned apron, her hair tightly pinned, her gaze slightly averted. Between them is tension, between them is lineage. Let us speak first of composition. The painting's verticality is no accident. From the tines of the pitchfork, through the striped stitching of the man's overalls, into the mullioned window behind, every element draws the eye upward. Even the faces, long, drawn, elongated, follow the same ascension. The house's gables echo the pitchfork. The curtain above them echoes the folds in their clothing. And yet all is contained within an almost claustrophobic frame, hemmed in by edge and order. The figures are not set in landscape, but locked in place, two sentinels before a domestic altar. The color palette is muted, earthen tones, whites, blacks, soft greens. There is no indulgence, no flamboyance. Even the vegetation, the mother-in-law's tongue and the beefsteak begonia, are chosen not for lushness, but for their historical and symbolic relevance. Wood had used the same houseplants in an earlier portrait of his mother. They are emblems of resilience, of domestic endurance. Now consider the faces. Byron McQuarrie, the Cedar Rapids dentist who served as model for the man, and Nan Wood Graham, the artist's sister, who posed as the daughter. They did not pose together. Wood painted them separately, assembling the tableau in his studio. Their expressions are severe, yet unreadable. They reveal nothing. But within that stoicism lies mystery. Are they proud, resentful, bereaved? Their expressions resist narrative closure, and that is where the painting's power lies. When American Gothic was unveiled at the Art Institute of Chicago, it caused immediate sensation. It was awarded a bronze medal, acquired by the museum, and reproduced widely. Yet its reception was split along a fault line: interpretation. To East Coast critics, the painting was satire. Gertrude Stein and others saw it as a lampoon of small-town conservatism, in line with the literary spirit of Sinclair Lewis's Main Street. The stiff poses, the outdated dress, the dour expressions, all seemed to them a critique of rural backwardness. But in the Midwest, Many took umbrage. It was seen not as comedy, but insult. Iowans recognized the style of clothing, popular in the previous generation. Farmers feared that the painting would reinforce stereotypes, backward, joyless, archaic. Wood himself offered a third view. In interviews and letters he asserted that the figures were not meant as parody, but as reverent archetypes. An American Gothic, he said, of the American type I fancied should live in that house. He imagined a father and daughter embodying tradition, endurance, and rural virtue. Indeed, the woman's dress was copied from an old family photograph, and Wood paid careful attention to historical accuracy. There is no mockery in the details, only meticulous homage. As the Great Depression deepened, that interpretation gained ground. Americans struggling to make ends meet saw in the painting not satire, but strength. These were survivors, not relics. The painting became a symbol of grit, of permanence in a time of collapse. Yet art history, ever inquisitive, looked deeper. Some critics, such as Trip Evans, observed the painting through the lens of mourning portraiture. The drawn curtain behind the woman, her black dress with white collar, the averted eyes, all suggest memorial imagery. Could this be a painting about loss, about absence? Others went further. Kelly Grovier, for instance, read the painting mythologically. The farmer, holding his pitchfork like a trident, becomes Pluto, god of the underworld. The daughter, in dark attire, becomes Proserpina, caught between realms. The brooch she wears, round and planetary, and the globe-topped weather vane above, these are no coincidences. In this view, the painting is an American Hades, a frozen tableau of father and daughter in the afterlife of rural memory. The house itself, this small, now famous building, was eventually listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1974. Today, it stands preserved, a site of pilgrimage. Tourists visit in costume, recreate the painting, and celebrate Gothic days each year. A visitor center was established in 1991, and interior tours began in 2015. American Gothic has since been endlessly parodied and reinterpreted. It appears in advertising, television, political satire, even in Google campaigns. In 1942, Gordon Parks responded with his own American Gothic, a photograph of Ella Watson, a black cleaning woman at the FSA, posed with mop and broom before the American flag, a fierce inversion of Wood's vision. In 2016, the painting left America for the first time to be shown in Paris and London, where it was met not with irony, but fascination. For even across oceans, the power of its ambiguity remains. Today, the painting hangs in the Art Institute of Chicago. It is not just a picture of two people standing before a house. It is a portrait of American psyche, of ambiguity between satire and sincerity, of the eternal dance between surface and symbol. American Gothic endures because it does not speak. It listens. It waits. It lets each generation come to it and see what it needs to see: authority or austerity, mourning or pride, devotion or despair. It is America, distilled to a glance and a gesture, and it will stand long after we have ceased to ask what it means.